So my name is Ben. Olivier introduced what I do and all that. Fantastic. Uh, so, what happened is just like about a month and a half back, or maybe 2 months back, one of our clients was involved with developing the Blue Trace protocol here in Singapore, which is powering the Trace Together application, which is basically the COVID-19 tracking app in Singapore. So it is a privacy-preserving cross-border contact tracing protocol. So third parties cannot use Blue Trace communication to track users over time, limited collection of personal identifiable information, local storage of encounter only, and revocable consent. So the idea is just to keep all this information quite private. So any user will be able to install the application without much privacy concerns. Sounds good. So that created the Trace Together app. Up to a couple of weeks ago, we had about 1.5 million users. It went up a little bit. It's built on native Android, Java, and Android Swift for the front end, mobile. But it's using the Blue Trace protocol that I just discussed a little while ago. And the backend is on Azure, mostly Azure Function and some kind of PaaS repository. So it's all very good. A lot of us are using this application. So while a little later, Microsoft contacted me to ask me if I wanted to join a similar effort that was being conducted in Japan with Microsoft Japan. And that the technology used is 100% Microsoft. That means that the UI, the mobile frontend, will be Xamarin. Well, you may or may not know that, but I love Xamarin like a lot. So the name of my company is Xamariners. That says it all. So after a bit of discussion, first of all, we kind of wanted to go to present around the information that I already had across existing project and to make sure that no wheels were going to get reinvented. So a little bit of networking happened. And then, yes, I decided to engage not only my expertise, but actually my part of one team from my company to help out. Luckily, I run a company in Singapore, and what we do is developing cloud native and Xamarin application. So we just took a team and said, "Hey, let's just help this project for 2 weeks or so in order to give a good spec in order to basically hammer all the Xamarin part of it and just help out on the side." So we did absolutely just that. So we took the project management for this spike over. We saw project manager and allocated tasks for Xamarin as your function development, UI testing, and DevOps. So that went pretty well. Again, the tech stack for this application was Xamarin Forms, iOS and Android, using Xamarin Forms shell in order just to leverage, all the heavy lifting for you. So the development will go a bit faster, and we wouldn't have to spend too much time on doing all this piping. Backend, Azure Functions, Cosmos DB, bits and bobs, and then we set in place the test coverage. So, which I will demonstrate. I will do a live demo in 1 second. With Xamarin, we use App Center UI test, plus a BDD layer on top of it, and then set up the backend, and unit test. And also our esteemed fellow MVP, Chaminda, set in place the bulk of the CI/CD, using Azure DevOps and App Center. So all very nice. Let me just take 1 second to show something that we've been doing, which is goes along with what on the kind of open source library that we are sourcing. We'll go through it. So you can see on my right hand side, it is a COVID radar application from Japan, which can be used by any country. Right? We have resource files, so that's easy just to set up. If your country wants to have a COVID app, it doesn't have one yet, just grab this one. It works very, very nicely. So this is your home screen, and if you click on Start, you'll get a bit of information, and then you can keep going on your onboarding. So what I will do is I would like to test how that works. So in order to test how I can get that working, I'm going to create a very simple cucumber scenario. So, and that is going to go along the line. Given I can see a label with the text COVID-19 radar, which is what you can see here on this mobile application, then I can see a start button. You can see the start button down here. And when I tap on the start button, Then I can see an how it works page. So again, I'm going to click and you can see on the top, it says how it works. And then I can see a label with a number 1 and a label with a number 2. So that's something very, very basic. But ultimately, what I want to do is to run that. So I'm going just to close the application, get my mouse back, and I'm going to be running this unit test. And that will be very, very quickly. So it takes a package of the Android application, which is on the code here. And let me show you the output here. It's going to basically go through all those elements. I am not touching the screen. My hands are on my head. So I'm not doing anything at all. Let's see if I can see. Yep. See, hands up. I'm not touching anything. I'm proving it. So you can see the application is running by itself. And you can see that still my hand is up. I'm just touching my mouse. And there we go. And the application has been launched and we'll be able to see a bit of output. You can see that everything is running, it's validating that everything works, and the test is green. So that's fantastic. This is called UI testing. That has been open source. That's running on top of Xamarin UI test. And that allows you to do some cucumber by just doing zero code. Very useful. So there we go. So the application went very well. That is planned to be released in Japan pretty soon. They're talking with the government right now to see the fine details. And on the fun facts, we've been interviewed by the Japanese national television, NHK, about this application. So that is cool. We still have one hand on it, and we're still providing some updates when required. So now let's talk quickly about centralized versus decentralized application when it comes to contact tracing. So the decentralized application, for instance, is going to take pretty much the information that is not your identity, just your identifier when you register with the application, and then take every time you meet somebody that has the application that may or may not be infected, whatever, this anonymous data will be coming also to your device, and the processing is going to be done there, while maybe taking some more information from the database. But the crucial point is the processing is done on your device, not on the cloud. The centralized version instead is going to be done all on the cloud. So the data is going to be saved to a database and then processed there. So that is two approaches. So one may say that the decentralized version might be a little bit more cool when it comes again just to data and sensitive information, although everything is anonymized. But well, so why am I talking about that? Well, I'm going to go through that very quickly. Bluetooth on iOS got some limitations. So you take Bluetooth plus you add a little bit of iOS and a little bit of background processes, and what you get is a bang, because tracing does not work properly when in the background because of the way Apple restriction of Bluetooth. So now what happens? Apple just tell the companies or organizations that have been creating some tracing application, we are cool just to relax a little bit the way we handle background processing, but we don't want to do that with centralized application. We want to only do that with decentralized application. So as long as you are decentralized, then we're cool. We'll be able just to relax that. So that was a case that you may have read the news, but that just happened quite recently. So obviously the entities that are been doing a centralized way of building application will go back to decentralized in order to make the iOS tracing possible. So on the cool stuff, so Google and Apple, you probably heard the news as well, decided for once to work together in order to create an exposure notification API, which allows to provide an out-of-the-box mechanism for developer to do some contact tracing. So there is no restriction. It just works out of the box. It's just like super safe. And that's great. That means that developers can take that and then integrate that into this application, which is precisely what is being done to the Japanese application that we've been working on. So that's great. And because they got that in place, obviously Xamarin, which I am quite fond of, decided ahead of time, as soon as they got the specification, even if nothing was done on the Apple and Google side, they went ahead and said, here we go. At least we can give you the stub, which is basically the API that you will need to consume whenever all that is ready. And now they've got the project going, which is this Xamarin exposure notification, which is a cross-platform way of consuming this SDK for contact tracing. And again, because it's Xamarin, you just write it once, deploys everywhere. No need to look at the Android or iOS specific implementation. Just do it once, and that will just work out of the box. So that is how the using this new protocol. This is how basically an application would be looking at. So you've got the onboarding on the left-hand side, as recommended by Apple and Google, and then a positive result flow that just gets into then the exposure notification. So if we know that you've been working not far away with an infected person, then you'll be able just to see that part, and then you'll have your notification setting. So that provides a very simple, easy framework to build your own COVID application. In terms of open source as well, Xamariners, my company and myself do quite a lot of those projects. So both in GitHub and on NuGet, some are pretty popular, but we're releasing like a bunch of end-to-end and unit testing libraries, all working in a codeless fashion using BDD. So this little text that I showed a bit earlier. Then I can see something and I tap on something else and that happens. So that allows QA team to actually, just produce test cases without coding, and that will work using a real application. And we are proposing that as an end-to-end for Xamarin, end-to-end for web application, especially Blazor, which is also part of the ASP.NET Core family that allows using, again, Cucumber to run some very easily without any code, some end-to-end UI testing. And we also do that for unit testing for Xamarin and also for Blazor and for a bunch of stuff. I will blog about that pretty soon. I think this is all for my talk. Any questions? And I'm probably on time as well. Hopefully. Am I? Olivia? Anyone? Hello. I believe I am all alone. Can anyone hear me?
Hello, Ben. Sorry for being late. Thank you for sharing your project with us. So I think it's more meaningful that we use the open source with this. And I heard that you're also on media about your co-project the other day.
Yeah, that's right. So we got filmed remotely basically we're conducting what we were doing during or Spike or 2 week Spike, which is conducting a daily stand-up, and we use that as a narrative in order to show the different aspects that are marrying both open source, decentralization, and all the parts that constitute software development. What is interesting and that we highlighted is the way we can just work together now seamlessly is really new. It was unheard of. So when you think about open source, let's say like 10, 15, 20 years ago, well, that was a bunch of people that were usually on the same company or on the same university, just doing a project together, and that would be just like super localized, and that's it. Now somebody in Japan started something, and then you got people from Singapore, people from all over the world. It doesn't matter where you are. You can just you've got a flow, a way of working, the tooling that allows it, and that is really cool. So open source is changing. It's changed dramatically. Tooling is getting better. GitHub is awesome. That allows to do this kind of project, and really in a really reactive manner when something bad happens, like what we're experiencing these days. Well, the world is just set alight, and all the open source people go around and say, yes, we can do it. We're going just to do something. And we had like already 2 talks about it. And that was really empowering and humbling just to hear that again, just like hundreds, tens, dozens, thousands, whatever, certain amount of people went together in order to build something to make the world better, one line of code at a time.
Yeah. I have some comments here, and then, Green is looking forward to having a look at the code.
The code for COVID, it's on the presentation, but that is if you can go back the code. If you can I put a comment in? I suppose
you'll be able to share the presentation later on our GitHub.
Yeah, it's all on the presentation. All the references are there, so that will be simple.
Yeah, and then we have another comment from Georgie. Can you say more about the decentralized nature of your app? Is it CPU intensive network or something else?
Well, that ultimately now we are piggybacking back into the Apple / Google protocol because it's just there. It's easy packed and it goes around the again nature of the restriction of the Apple Bluetooth restriction. So backgrounding is not working really well. So is it CPU intensive? Ultimately, not really, because you simply need to calculate the time you spend in the proximity of somebody. That's a very small amount of data, and then join the dots. So that's okay. That works well. That is well suited to mobile application. Mobile phones are just like little computers, as long as you even like pretty decent machine learning models run fine on it. Just so a little bit of graph querying is a piece of cake, but it's fine.
If you have more comments about his presentation, you can connect with Ben with the Twitter handle on the screen, right?
Yeah. Sure. And my email that is on my presentation, just like drop me a line and I'll answer. Maybe not.
Yeah. Thank you, Ben.
Sayonara. Have a good day.